What's up, everybody? Dr. McGee here. It's time for a pep talk. It is Sunday evening at 7 p.m. And listen, this podcast has been put together. It's new. And we're putting this together so that we can motivate, inspire, and just get educators, all educators. I don't care what level of education you're in. I don't care if you are a teacher, if you're a support staff, a paraprofessional, a lunch aide, a superintendent. I don't care. But all educators, we want to give you a quick pep talk to start your week. So Monday is tomorrow, and maybe you're driving in and you might want to tune in and listen to it and get inspired. Maybe you are in your classroom and school hasn't started yet, and you're getting the decorations up and you want to just be energized. This is what this podcast is about. So it's time for a pep talk, and we are about a week or two in some cases of school starting. So we should be getting excited, right? We should be getting excited because it's a new year and it's a chance for you to do something different. And I'm excited about it. There's just so much to be excited about. New kid. You might have a new classroom. You might have new colleagues. You might have a new principal. You might have a new dean of students. You might have a new assistant principal. There are so many shifts that are happening across the country, across the state, across your school district, because shift happens. And I remember in 2008 there was this video that was on YouTube. Like, YouTube was like kind of just new, and it was called Shift Happens. And what it was talking about how the world is shifting in relation to technology, right? So you're looking at Facebook and MySpace and YouTube and how many users are on these platforms compared to the number of people in certain countries. Like, I think at the time, like MySpace, remember MySpace? Remember MySpace? MySpace was like Facebook and like TikTok and like Instagram. But back in the day, and Tom was your first friend. And it was a platform for you to showcase yourself. But they had so many users on MySpace that it was comparable, or sometimes it exceeded the number of people in certain countries. And so they were showing how this shift is happening where people are getting connected. People are starting to use cell phones. People are starting to be online more than people that are actually here. And the numbers were staggering. Well, it's 2025. What does that look like now? How have the shift happened now? I will tell you that AI is throwing us for a loop. You have the content creation is really throwing us for a loop. You have these new careers that are emerging from tech that's throwing things off. It's shifting the way we do school. It's shifting the way we look at careers. It's shifting the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? When you talk to little kids, it's changing that whole conversation. Because I have a 17-year-old right now who's going to the 11th grade, and I promise you, when I ask him that question, I kind of feel silly because as he's answering it with the typical teenage answer, I don't know. I'm like, why don't you know? Well, what do you want to major in when you go to college? I don't know. And to his point, I kind of get it. Like, what do you major in? Because all those industries are shifting. They're changing. People are working from home. People are working from across the country, but they're still logging in and able to get things done and not have to be in a building. People are making money on YouTube videos. People are doing all these different things using tech to create a lifestyle. And they're not doing the same job or career for 30 years anymore. They're not even living in the same house for 30 years. I think the mortgage industry is shifting as well. They're not doing 30-year fixed APRs anymore. They're changing. They're shifting. So shift absolutely happens. And it happens in the classroom as well. It's happening in schools. And so as we look at this year that's upon us, I want to give you a quick pep talk, and I just want to say, hey, how are you going to shift? How are you going to shift? And there are three ways you can shift. Three ways you can shift. If you don't know, I want to help you out. All right. I want to help you out. So, how do you shift in your pedagogical delivery? Like from being the sage on the stage to the guide on the side. The sage on the stage to the guide on the side. Yeah, back in the day when you were a teacher, yes, you had the knowledge. You were filling up these little empty vessels with all your knowledge and experience. That's not the case now. Because all your knowledge and experience, I can type in right now to Google, Perplexity, Chat GPT, and I think they just came out with a Chat GPT 5. All the information is there. If we go back a couple years, yeah, I can go to the Encyclopedia Britannica and get information and do my reports. I can go to the computer. We used to go to the library, and when they start bringing in computers, it changed the game. We didn't have to do the Dewey Decimal System. I mean, we did, but we just put it into the computer. We didn't have to go to the card catalog anymore or have the librarian help us. We just sat on there and typed in keyword equals dinosaurs, and it'll tell you where it was in the library. Everybody face shift. So in the classroom, yeah, you're not the sage anymore. You're not the one with all the knowledge. You might have the wisdom, but how do you shift that and be alongside students and walk alongside and walk with them as they journey through these decisions they have to make, the problems that they're facing, the way in which they have to create relationships and bonds? How do you walk with them as they navigate these things? How they're creating balance in their environment, how they're dealing with the rules and the systems and the procedures, and how are you walking alongside them with that? That's where the power lies, and that might be where the shift needs to go. What if you shift from being a teacher to a facilitator? You're not necessarily teaching, you're facilitating the room, the space, the knowledge. You're working that classroom. You're not sitting in the front anymore and all the rows are in the desk. You're moving around. You create a different environment, a learning environment for your students, for your scholars. It's a shift. The last shift I want you to make is shifting from being a staff member or this teacher or this counselor or advisor or parapro. Shift from that to being a leader, right? The principal is not the only leader in your building. The assistant principal, dean, they're not the only leaders in your building. You are a leader. Your department head is not the only leader. You are a leader. So shift your mindset to say, hey, I'm just a teacher in my room and in my subject area. No, you have a voice. You have an opinion. You have experience and wisdom that can help that principal, to help that assistant principal, help the counselors, help the nutritionists, the lunch aides, the custodians. You have wisdom and experience to be able to do that and lead. How do you do that, Dr. McGee? Well, first thing you want to do is examine your responsibilities. What are your responsibilities? Your duties and responsibilities. The district says you have to do these things and you're responsible for X, Y, Z. We all have them. But then once you move from those responsibilities, then you go into accountability. All right, these are my responsibilities. Now I'm accountable for. Not necessarily I'm accountable. I'm going to hold people accountable. Not necessarily that. It can be that, but that has a negative connotation, and we've used that and weaponized that. I'm not saying holding people accountable. If you're going to hold yourself accountable to your responsibilities, and as you shift from the responsibilities to accountability, you shift to ownership. Ownership. Now I'm just going to take ownership in fill in the blank. I think we should go on this field trip and we haven't done this before. So I'm going to take the ownership of setting up this experience and then sharing that with my principal to get the green light, sharing that with my department colleagues to get some support and assistance. Responsibility, accountability, ownership. And so That's the shift. And I'm sure there are other ways that you can shift. So help me out. Put that in the chat in the comments. What does that shift look like for you? And we'll talk more about it at the end. Uh, but that's the pep talk. Shift happens. Whether you stand still or you're running fast, shift is going to happen. You're trying to stay ahead of the curve. You might be the person that's really on the cutting edge of technology and you got it. Like you understand that now these large language models and chat GPT, open AI, perplexity, you know how they work. And you are not just putting prompts in, but you are now understanding how they create, what are those things called? What are those things called? Now, not advisors, but uh, agents. They're creating agents that systematize processes for you. Come on. But even that, Chat GPT 5 is here. And it's like, well, you got the agents. Now what? And it's moving fast. So, how are you shifting in this educational landscape? So, that's what we're talking about today, shifting, but grounded in education, because this work, it's not going to go anywhere. We always have to educate, re educate ourselves and those that are coming after us. So today I really want to get into it because as this podcast is about pep talks, we want to make sure you stay in the profession. We want to make sure that you, when times get tough, you can find a way to be inspired, find a way to be motivated, find a way to stay in it so that you can continue to serve and love and care for those young people that are in your care, that are in your space, that you have been absolutely blessed and fortunate to have in your company. And so I want to start inviting educators to the platform to start having these conversations and sharing stories about their educational background and what's keeping them here and how do they move forward and how do they share with their colleagues and what stories, more importantly, what stories can they share that says, oh, this is what is so important to me. This is what changed. This is what keeps me here because there's always a story. For me, it's around graduation time a lot of times when you watch a student cross that stage and you knew that they might not make it. You just knew, you looking at the numbers, you're like, listen, you got so many credits, I don't know how you're going to, but some way, somehow they pull it together and figure it out and they walk across the stage with their cap and gown and they're crying, you're crying, and you've done it. But they move on and guess what? You got another group coming. And you battle. What are those stories? We want to hear it. So today I am so excited because we have a guest on today that I'm super excited about. I'm glad she was able to do this and make time because I just think that everything that she brings to the table is going to help somebody. It's going to help an educator. It's going to help a teacher. It's going to help a support staff. It's going to help a principal. It's going to help a superintendent because they're going to hear her talk. They're going to hear her story. They're going to hear her mindset, her work set, and more importantly, her heart set. My guest today is Michelle Auburn, and she's a secondary business educator at the Grand Rapids Public Schools in Grand Rapids, Michigan. She earned her undergraduate degree at Eastern Michigan University in industrial distribution and pursued a career in various finance, logistics, and inventory management positions before transitioning into teaching. That's exciting. That's exciting. She completed her master's in workforce education and development at Western Michigan University. Her professional work is concentrated in urban education with a focus on CTE, as career technical education. Michelle is a wife, a mother of three, and a super proud public educator. So Listen, I'm excited. I'm excited. Let's bring to the stage Miss Michelle Alber. What's going on, lady?
Well, hello, Dr. McGee. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for accepting my invitation and showing up for our
Yay.
podcast. So, talk to
This
me.
is
So, I gave the people a little bit of your background. Um, you know, you're an educator. Like, how did you go from being in industry and finance and all that stuff and saying, hey, you know what? Let me go do some teaching. What happened? What's going on with that?
I think what initially got me there is I had some fantastic teachers. That was one thing. I knew that people could make a difference in young people's lives just by showing up every day. But I
Mhm.
think the thing that got me there was an opportunity to be a paraeducator in an alternative ed type situation, and it was life changing. These scholars and students that I was put in front of me, I had no idea I was going to fall in love with teenagers.
Mhm. Oh man, that's amazing. That's amazing. So you said para. You started as in a position before you got to the teaching.
I did, yeah, and then I did some long term subbing, and I just wanted to see if the classroom was a place for me because I didn't feel like I fit in my other positions. I did them well. I could do them,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't my heart. And I was looking for what was going to be the thing that I want to wake up for every single morning.
Listen, I well, it had to be something. Is there something there that said that definitely gave you that motivation to say, you know what, I'm gonna do this. Is there a little bit something there that
Yeah.
gave you
Um,
the trigger?
what I noticed is that I was forming relationships very easily with the students in my care, and I noticed that they needed something more that we just our society didn't have. Things are breaking apart. We've got technology. We've got this move away from community, and what I was seeing is that they still want that because that's innately what all humans want. They want to connect. And I knew that I had this business background and I had a feeling that it was a needed thing. And coming from industry, you come with a different mindset than you come with just coming from education. It's just different. And I knew that there were things that were being missed simply because somebody hasn't been in that industry. And I knew that I was connecting with these teenagers, and a lot of people shy away from that because teenagers can be a little intimidating for some people.
Oh man, you know it. They are definitely going through their go through when they become teenagers. I was telling somebody the other day, a parent, I think she had like she had pre-tween. I think she was like 10 or 11, and I was saying like, wow, you know what? There's some research that shows that when kids get around that 12, 13, that middle school age, that they revert back to the terrible twos that we call the terrible twos. So developmentally, they started acting like these 2 year olds who, if you know you got 3 kids, so you know that around that stage they're looking for all this independence. They got it figured out. Leave me alone. Don't touch me. Don't grab. I can walk. I can
I
feed
do.
myself. And you're
Me
like,
do.
and that happens again when they turn like 12, and it's like, okay, because I got 3 kids myself, and I got a 17-year-old, a 14-year-old, and I got this 10-year-old. My 10-year-old is starting. And I'm like, come on, you're the sweetest kid I know. Why are you acting like this? And I got to remember, oh yeah, he about to go through his go through.
The shift is going to happen there too, right? I mean,
For
shift
sure.
happens,
It
and that's
does.
part of it. And I said the same thing this weekend. I was traveling with my oldest son, and I said, I think I saw some young boys just playing. They had sticks. They were, jabbing each other and just
Mm.
out of this campground. And I said, I think 10 to 12-year-old boys might be my favorite humans. And he said, "Are you kidding me?" And I said, "They're just so sweet and they're just so boy. I mean, everything is
Yeah,
just so big." Um, I never want them to lose that joy of being that age, you know. So I hope that we can keep that in high school. I guess that's why I don't mind some of the a little bit of ribbing, a little bit of um, the joking, the that kind of
yeah.
thing. I think it keeps the joy alive.
It does. And you know what? Sometimes it's sad because when, being an elementary principal, I was an elementary principal for about 7 years. And, you watch kids come into kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade. But by the fourth grade, for the boys, you would see this shift, if you will, where that light, that candle that was burning of curiosity and learning and want to do things, when they got like to the fourth grade, it started to shift. And it was like a lot of the adults kind of felt like, you probably shouldn't be boys and do boy things, and not like in a like feminine kind of way, but when they're poking their sticks, it's like, oh, you shouldn't do that. You need to be in detention. And it's like, they're being boys. Like, it's not the end of the world. Like, nobody got hurt. They're, redirect them. But I kind of see that happening where it's like when boys are being boys, it's looked at in a very different light now. But I think a lot of times we become a little bit hypersensitive when it comes to things like that.
Yes.
And we lose that, and boys don't get a chance to express their level of joy in a way that, so they have to dim their light or turn it out so that they can comply. And that's a whole nother podcast, honestly.
Yeah, and
But
we see
another
that a lot
podcast.
in high school, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of why people like me have to bring the joy in back into education.
Yeah.
You can't let the teenagers make that shift to being the joy in the classroom. You're going to have to bring it first. You have to be the thermostat, right? The thermostat,
Mm.
the thing that sets that tone
Mm-hmm.
in a classroom is you.
Mm.
um, in elementary, they come in with all that. I mean, they come in with the energy, they come in with the joy, they come in with creativity and passion. They're so
Yeah.
fun. And a lot of your life is wrangling and making sure that they can comply so that when they get to me, it's not, a mess. But as a high school educator, you got to bring that joy.
You do, and you definitely do. I've seen you in action, and I've watched how you turn that switch on. You got your cup of coffee, and when they getting ready to come in, boom, you bring that energy, and they fall in love with you. They absolutely do. They love being in your class, and I've seen it firsthand. So I appreciate the thermometer that you are, and how you set the temperature and the thermostat of that classroom, um, every day, even when you don't feel like it. But that's what I think it takes. That's like the shift that has to happen. And it seems like a lot of work. I don't think so. But it does seem like a lot of work to be able to conjure that energy up to do that. And I think there's different ways to do it because we all have different ways in which we behave. We have different personalities. So it doesn't all have to look the same. But I think the principle is the same, where we have to be able to demonstrate and set the level, the energy level, and allow the students to come in and say, oh, okay, and then get them there, get them to that level of energy so that they can start to perform, so that they can start to trust, and be a little bit more vulnerable. And that way you're setting the environment for learning to happen, for growth to happen, through just setting the tone. So I appreciate that. I appreciate
I
that.
love it. I think they feel the love, and that's why I get the love. They know when people love them, when they're being authentic with them, that they see them.
Hmm.
And being seen is one of the things that I think all students need so badly, uh, from
Yes.
from all staff members. They just need to be
Hmm.
seen. Like,
Hmm.
who are they? And dig a little bit. Like, get curious. Instead of judgmental, get curious. I think that is
Yeah.
just the best things you can do. I don't believe in reading files. I don't believe in
Hmm.
hearing from other staff members about scholars. I will make my own judgment calls on people. I don't want to know about their past. I don't want to know any of that stuff because who they are in my classroom is who they are.
Man, I'm so glad you said that, because I would operate like that oftentimes, being a principal of a school, and we had, a theme school that we were a part of, and there was an application process, but it
Mhm.
wasn't like this stringent application process. You just had to be intentional about where you wanted to come to school, and oftentimes I would interview kids and families and say, "Hey, you want to be here?" And oftentimes I would get calls from the other principals like, "Hey, I got a family coming over to you, man. And you want to kind of, hey, just kind of, here's this." And I'm like, "Hey, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I don't want to know. I'm straight.
Mhm.
Let me decide on what that looks like on my own." And
That's right.
I operate like that. I didn't look at the files either. I looked at them when I needed to for data, but I wasn't looking for, all right, what was the dirt? Because you never know when they decide to be a new person. This is the fresh start that I was looking for. So now, and I got some stories about some kids who, before they even got to us, and some of them you probably know, before they got to us, they were like a wreck, but they got here and the new start changed them, turned them
Yes.
around. And the behaviors that they told me about, I was like, I've never seen that. Well, it said, well, you didn't know me then. You didn't know me when I was an eighth grader, but when
And
I got here, they
how are
knew
we
something different.
speaking that into these scholars and students too? Like when I see something, I'm calling it out.
Mm-hmm.
You are so creative.
Come on.
It, you the art that you do is amazing,
Come
and
on.
I really would love to see what you can do in marketing with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's taking it and showing them what could be with the skills and the talents and all these gifts that they've been given.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes by the time they get to me, some of that's just been knocked out of them. The creativity and the fire, that you were talking about,
Mm-hmm.
that little spark. Um, that's what the world needs. Like when we release these people into the world, that's what they need. They need to bring with them that fire because that's what the world desires so much of and what we're missing a lot of. And it's not because it doesn't exist, it's just
Mm-hmm.
because these students didn't, they were told they had to fit a box.
Mm-hmm.
That box doesn't exist anymore.
Nah, that's
I'm not
so
sure it ever
good.
did, but that box does not exist anymore.
It doesn't. It
You're
doesn't.
talking about all the different jobs and things that people can do.
Mm-hmm.
I had a scholar, and this is, just a little peek into. I was told this young lady, she's trouble. She's not, she's always making, a big deal out of something. And she wanted to sit in the back of the class.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, I talked to her about, why do you want to do that? And I have like this little area in the back where I have some elevated seats, and they're not at the desks. And when I talk to her, she just gets really overwhelmed. I had a classroom of 36. That would be overwhelming. And I said, I understand what you're talking about. So we made an agreement. I said, hey, if you can come in here for direct instruction, like when I'm talking for 10, 15 minutes, then you can surely go back to that table and do your work and do what you're going to do. And she thrived
Mm-hmm.
just with flexibility. And then somebody
Mm.
said, well, that's not how it's like in the real world. Yes, it is. She could
Mm-hmm.
work from home.
Mm-hmm.
She could be
Ooh.
away from people in her own little desk. She doesn't have to be with 36 people. That is the beauty of what we do now in this world. There's so many possibilities.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. And you are I liked how you did that. You hit a nail right on the head. You're like, they can do it is like that in the real world. You got the remote learning. You got this hybrid model where you can kind of work and come in and come out. You have spaces. If you look at, from what I understand, Steelcase has this format, if you will, this environment set up where the employees can kind of, they don't have to be in their area. There's not like an area they have to be in. They can, one day they can be down here on this floor. They can go up to the fourth floor. They can sit on the cubbies that have the rolling chair. Like that's a steel case. So
Yes.
you can't tell me that this isn't the real world. Like, come on, they're making those adjustments, and you're starting to see it in industry. You're seeing it in colleges and universities. They're making these. I saw when Google started to do that.
Mhm.
And it was a few years ago. I read an article or I saw either a news report. It talked about how Google, their work environment was very different than other companies, where people who worked there, they had this nice cafeteria. They had these pods that you can
Yeah.
kind of sit in, and they had this nap like policy. You could take a nap, and as long
Yes.
as you got your work done, you were fine. But you had all this access into how you were able to do that work, get into your creative flow, if you will. And I was like, oh, they're changing the landscape of how things are. And now you're starting to see, traditional environments aren't necessarily conducive to this new child, this new kid, this new. I don't keep up. I try to keep up with the generations like Gen Alpha. I'm not sure which one we're
Gen
on.
Alpha.
Is that it?
Yeah,
They're
Gen
coming.
Alpha's they came last year. They were a freshman last year, so and they got a
Uh
new lingo. They got everything. It's I thought I had everything kind of worked out for Gen Z. I
huh.
thought I was
Oh
doing
man.
pretty well with that.
Hmm.
Gen Alpha comes and throws a new one at us, and it keeps you on your toes. That's for sure.
Yeah. And the last podcast last week, I talked about um the babies who were born during COVID are now kindergartners. And they are here. And it's like, ooh,
Here they
how are they
come.
going to push us? How are they going to shape the landscape moving forward, especially in our space and education? How are they going to connect with information and learning and processing? I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to talk to some kindergarten teachers in about March and see how they really feel about these kids coming in and how they're coming to the surface and how they're learning. So I'm excited about that.
My niece is 5 and starting kindergarten in the fall,
Mm-hmm.
and she's just full of fire. Like
Uh-huh.
I love her passion for life. She knows what she wants. She is going for that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I, I think people will say whatever they want to say about the pandemic, but there are some things that are going to change for good because of it, and it's not necessarily bad. That might
Yeah.
be a really good thing. I don't see anything bad about pushing the boundaries a little bit and
Yeah.
seeing what can happen. I look at my job is I'm the guardrails, right? Kind of
Mm-hmm.
like when you're driving down a road and they're way back over here, right? But you got all of this room to
Mm-hmm.
do that work,
Yeah.
and I think sometimes people want them in a tight lane, and having that kind of having that control isn't one something that I've ever needed.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really neat to see them within these guidelines do that work and see what comes of it, because it's pretty fantastic. We've got
Yeah.
some really amazing people out there that are about to hit the workforce and our colleges, and I'm excited. I think they're going to change the world.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So listen, we this is a pep talk podcast, and one of the things that as we grow and this gets out to more and more people, and the more people start tuning into this thing, um, you've been doing this for some good time now, and I'm just wondering, the school year's about to start up. Like, how are you getting prepared to get into the groove? I remember talking about that a few years ago. You got to get into the groove. Like, what are you getting to the groove? How? What songs are you listening to? I did a whole professional development on that, but so two things I need from you before we get out of
Okay.
here. Two things. One, what are some things you're doing to get ready for the school year? Because it starts when? Does it start next week for you? The, dang.
Yeah, I
Okay.
report on Tuesday. Yeah, I report on Tuesday for PD, and
Eesh.
yeah, so
Okay.
the 18th is go time with the kids. So
Yeah.
um,
So what do
yeah,
you do to do that? And let's just start with that one, and I'll give you the second
okay.
question after that. So what do you do to get
Um,
ready for this?
so first of all, I think that rest is incredibly powerful.
Mhm.
Rest and reflection. I I don't know how people continue teaching through the summer. I am very thankful that they do, and I know that we need our summer school teachers and staff members. But for me, um, I always say I leave it all out on the floor, all out in my classroom, And by the time we hit May, I'm exhausted. I
Mm-hmm.
am. I'm tired. But I also know that after some rest, I'm going to be ready to hit the ground running again. And it always happens in August. And I start feeling like more myself. I feel the energy coming back. I find myself just smiling and getting excited about getting that new teacher planner and my new pens and all that kind of thing. And thinking about and the planning that happens right there at the beginning of the school year. Um, but I think that reflection and rest is necessary. And I think that because of how teachers are designed, um, it's hard to go from 100 miles an hour to zero. And that's what happens at the end of the school year. You are going all the way to the end, especially, I'm not going to say it, especially for high school teachers, because I know every teacher's at the end of the year, it's like there's so many
Yeah.
things happening.
Mm-hmm.
But graduation is like, to me, just like you were saying, it is a culmination of all this work that's been done. And you need to get to that rest point. You have to do it. So, rest and reflection right out of the gate in June. And then creativity and finding things that you enjoy doing that maybe during the school year is a little more difficult to do. Um, I like sleeping in a little bit. Sleeping in for me is 6 a.m., but I like to sleep in a little bit. I like to have hot coffee on my couch with my cat instead of in a to-go cup on the way to school. Um, I get excited about being able to sit out on my deck and listen to birds and just things that because of my schedule during the school year, it might not be conducive to me doing that during the school year. Um, so that's those are a few things I do. And then really as we're going into this school year, I start manifesting this great school year. I start
Come on.
talking about it. I don't know about I'm not really big on this whole manifesting thing, but
Mm-hmm.
I know that when you speak something that it becomes more real. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I start when I get in front of somebody and they're like, "Oh yeah, your summer's coming to an end. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
it's got to be really tough."
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure, sure, I guess. But this is the job that I love. This is the career that I chose. This is what I enjoy doing. I need the rest, but I get ready for the school year by saying, "This is going to be a great school year. I can't
Mm-hmm.
wait to meet these new freshmen. Um, I can't wait to see how my juniors transition into this senior year and what they're going to learn and how they're going to grow and what it's going to look like in May when I see them launch." I get excited about what's coming next. And
Mm-hmm.
then I speak it and I say, I try not to go down this rabbit hole of yeah, there's a billion things that we can say are hard in any career.
Mm-hmm.
But as a teacher, if you're not bringing positivity and reflection to your practice, then you're missing out on that next step, that shift, because this is the shift from summer into fall. And it
Yeah.
can't be oh, I wish I was back in summer and in my bathing suit and sipping tea and
Right.
no, it's let's go. We
That's
got
right.
people, and these
Mm-hmm.
people need you, and you need them. They're the purpose, right? So
Mm-hmm.
get ready for it and start. Get your new pencils and papers and your notebooks and get a couple new outfits and a haircut and get ready. Get ready to be there for your kids. And I think it's when you show up like that, they see it. They know,
They know.
I'm excited to see you. I'm glad you're back.
I love it. I love it. And you are hitting the nail on the head. You hitting the nail on the head. And I like that idea of the summer. Yeah, the summer, the season is changing. The season is changing. And just because summer's leaving doesn't mean you don't enjoy, because in Michigan, fall is beautiful. It
Oh,
might be a
it's
little
gorgeous.
nippy, but when those leaves start to change color, it's a different vibe. And then when fall leaves and then the winter comes, some people, yeah, okay, it's a little snow on the road, but man, you ever go outside when that snow is falling and it's on the ground and it's that quiet, serene? There's beauty in it. That's my point. There's a
Yes.
beauty in every season. And so, as we're transitioning from summer and being on break and summer break and getting to the school year, there's beauty in the beginning. There's beauty in the restart and the relaunch, and there's beauty into new names and faces and the smell. I remember the smell of the hallway when school was starting. Like it smells like school, or that first school lunch, and it's like it smells like lunch. Like there's a lunch smell, and those
I
things.
I love the bell, and I mean these are certain things I know other people, but there's something about a beginning and an ending to the time together, that you can make it really special,
Mm-hmm.
um, and impactful. And I just think that there's something, that you're launching these people to the next teacher, to the next, into the hallway, into the people that they're going to be interacting with. So like, how do you do that with the most, just knowing how important it is, and knowing that you set that tone, you set that temperature for the rest of that day. And then also knowing that if they came in with some crummy stuff, that you get to, hopefully, the goal is to always leave the person you're with feeling better than they came in your presence.
Mm.
And that's really important. And
It
I,
is.
I, you're the ringleader of your little three ring circus,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
how are you doing that?
that's
I just
right.
got a I just got something put up on my wall, and it says, "Come to find out, this is my circus and these are my monkeys."
Come on. Come on.
That's what I love about it, though. They are mine. I love them. Like, I will claim them all day long. And if my husband would let me adopt a bunch, I would. But
I hear that.
no
I
more
hear that.
teenagers, he said. No more teenagers.
Listen, man, I was talking about that last week and how you just really have to be. You're a professional life changer. That's the shift, right? I'm not a teacher. I'm a professional life changer, and I'm in the business of changing lives. And that's what I keep hearing from you, and I keep hearing from you, and I keep hearing this heart set. I love that word. Like I don't know. I'm gonna check and see if that's coined or not. But I've been saying it because I'm writing a book, and it keeps coming up in my book, and I'm like,
Yes.
heart set, mindset, heart set. There's a heart set we have to have because this teaching that we do is an art and a science. It's yeah, science. We can measure it. We can say, hey, this works here. Best practices. Here's the curriculum. Here's the framework. That's great. You need that structure. But then there's a magic piece that comes in. There's an art that comes in that's like, well, I don't know if it's graphite pencil. I don't know if it's paint. I don't know if it's crayon. I don't know. I'm sculpting and framing. Like there's an art to it, and you have to be able to go in and out of both. And that's what
And,
makes it
it,
so
and that's the
special.
shift, right? There's a
Mm-hmm.
shift there too. It's
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, maybe the general population kind of understands what happens in a classroom as much as they think they do, because the only thing that people know is generally they were sitting in a seat,
Mm-hmm.
and that seat was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. um,
Mm-hmm.
these these, these students that are coming through, they're different, they're built different. They're going to shake up this world. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to be ready for that. You got to be ready to shift your own way that you think, so that you can meet them where they're at.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely. You got
and
to be ready for that. Okay.
yes.
Listen, before we get out of here, I want to ask you this is that second question, right?
Okay.
See, I could talk to you forever. We spent all that time on that one question, but it's fine. It's fine. It worked. But the last thing I want to ask you is that if can you share with us like a story, right? I know you have 150,000 stories that happened when you interact with students, when you watch them grow, when you see them succeed, when you see them come in one way and then they leave a different way. Um, challenge that comes with interacting with students, the good, bad, the ugly, but then there's something that pulls on those heartstrings that says, oh, this is why I do what I do. And nobody's measuring that, nobody's recording that, there's no TikTok on it. This is the stuff that happens that keeps me in the game, that allows me to be the life changer that I am. You got a story that you might want to share with us that a new teacher, a veteran teacher, any educator can say, wow, they might be touched by this. What, you got something that you can share?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna pull out my old friend, and she is now really becoming a successful adult. But one time she was in my junior class, and she wasn't coming to school, and I would see her in the hallway, and I'd be like, "Hey, hey, I miss you. Where you been?" and and I think at first it was a little embarrassing to her, but then she started playing along with it too, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
now it was a game that we were playing. And she brought me her picture. And she said, "Miss, if you miss me, you can just look at my picture." I said, "It's just not the same. It's just not the same." I still have that picture. She graduated 3 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And her senior year, she really locked in. And I asked her, what was the thing? What was it that made you want to lock in? Why did you want to be here? And she said, "You said you missed me. You said that I had these things that you needed to see in life, and only I could do it." And I said, "That's right. You have gifts. You have talents. You have all of this that's just waiting to explode into this world. But you're going to have to get a diploma to get there. That's just step one, right? Step one." And come to find out, she does great senior year. She comes almost every day to senior year. She's full of life, bouncing from here to there. And I mean, just some people really had a tough time with her because she couldn't be contained. And I loved that
Mm.
about her. She could not be contained. She still can't be contained. And now she wants to be, she's got two goals. She either wants to go to the police academy,
Mm-hmm.
or we just had lunch not long ago and she said, "Miss, I'm thinking about being a teacher."
Come on. Come on.
And we chat back and forth. She's now what I would consider a friend of mine, right? A
Mm-hmm.
young friend, but a friend. And she's gone to college. She's really making a way for herself, and I just see such an amazing transformation from somebody who just liked to goof around and kind of be the life of the party, and
Mm-hmm.
um, to using all of that to push her into what the future looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I mean, she could have easily slid through those cracks because people thought she was messing around. People thought that she was just there for a good time or just to see her friends. Um, they forgot to call out those amazing things that she has.
Absolutely.
Already had them. I didn't need to give her that. Nobody needed to give it to her. It's just calling it out.
Yeah.
When you see something in somebody, call it out. You are a leader, a natural leader. People are going to follow you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I said to her. People are going to follow you. Do you want them to follow you in shenanigans? Maybe sometimes. But what you really want is you want to be able to be a leader and direct people in a great way. And that's what she's trying to do now. And I think what an amazing young lady. What an amazing opportunity. And I have 110 of those. I have 110 of those every year.
Yeah, I know you do. I know you
And
do.
they're amazing. And I just can't wait to see what they're going to do in this world. And I hope I'll be 70 years old someday with some 20-year-old friends. Um, you know, I love that I get a text. I get a text about every week from a former student.
Mm.
Just something like, Sometimes it's, Miss, I'm trying to do my taxes. Can you help me with Yes, I
I
can.
love it. I love it.
Miss, I'm having a baby. Oh my gosh, I am so excited for you.
Uh
And I get to be everybody's granny. I get to be everybody's
huh.
auntie. It's lovely.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, that's what I'm talking about, right? That's what I'm talking about. When they come back, when they start to send you messages, when they seek you out, after the fact, years after they've been in your care, directly in your care, they're still there. They're still a part of you, and those stories, for me, and I'm sure other educators across the world, um, it's those types of stories that allow us to say, you know what, this position, this is a mission. This is
Mhm.
part of my purpose. This is beyond being a teacher. This is beyond working in a school. This is about shifting lives and
Mhm.
changing the trajectory for families and helping people come from here to here. Sometimes it's
Yes.
not always here to here. Oh, this is super success story. The success sometimes is just they took another step,
Yes.
and I'm
And
able
it
to
only
read
takes
it.
one
Just one.
one adult
That's it.
to do that. That's one.
That's
And they've had at least, by the time they get to you, they've had at least 11.
it. Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
so I look at it as such a privilege. I don't have to be everybody's person,
Mm-hmm.
but I will be somebody's person.
Come
And I think
on.
that's really important to know that. If we're asking them to show up and do their best, I need to be showing up and doing my best too, right? Shadow of a leader. That's what my mom and dad used to say. Shadow of a leader.
Mm.
What kind of leader are you? What kind of shadow are you casting with that leadership?
That's right. That's what we talked about. And that's the shift. That's one of the shifts that needs to happen if we're going to do this work that we do. Oh, my goodness. Miss Albert, I appreciate you. I thank you so much for coming on today, dropping some nuggets for future teachers, current teachers, veteran teachers, educators all across this thing. It's just been such an honor. I would love to have you back. Yeah, we're gonna have to have you come back, and we just do another heartstring conversation because you have thousands and thousands of stories that I think the world needs to hear. And I just appreciate you. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your authenticity. Thank you for showing up as you are for those little boys and girls that are transitioning into young men and women. And guess what? They're coming through you. So, hats off to a great year. If you need
Thank
anything,
you.
let me know, and I would definitely love to. Well, we're going to stay in connection. It's not.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. McGee. It's been a pleasure. And I love having these conversations with you because I know what your heart, where it goes to. And we have a lot in common in that way that we just want
We
to see
do.
these young people um, make it in this world with their own successes and support that, which I think is amazing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much. And hang on here. I'll get back with you, but let me close this thing out. Um, man, I appreciate this shift in the podcast that we're doing, right? It ain't just me, right? Just talking, 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 trying to motivate you. Now, I can do that every day, all day. That's my wheelhouse. But it's different when you hear it from those who are on the ground doing the work. So, thank you again, Ms. Albert, for coming on here talking about how to make that shift and telling that story. Listen, if you watch this, if you saw this, I want you to you got some homework, all right? So I want you to pick an area where you're going to make a shift. Share it with me. Share, more importantly, share with yourself. What's one area I'm going to make the shift? Am I going to shift from being this sage on the stage into this guide on the side? How do I make that shift? First, decide on the shift. Am I going to make that shift that tells me that I need to go from being a teacher to a facilitator? Is that the shift? Am I going to shift from being this person that's so focused on content? I'm going to shift to looking at relationships a little bit, right? Or am I going to shift from being this staff member to a leader, where I'm looking at responsibility, where I'm looking at accountability, and I'm looking at ownership. We might dive into that next week, because that's a shift in itself. But whatever the case, make that shift, because shift happens. It's going to happen whether you do anything or not. But it's time for a pep talk, because shift is going to happen. It's 2025. The school year's getting ready to start. And at the end of the day comes night. And as you go to sleep and prepare for the first day of school, make sure you're preparing yourself. Make the shift you need to change so that you can be the best suited, the best leader, the best educator for our next generation. We appreciate you. We thank you. And guess what? We will see you next Sunday, 7 p.m. All right? Get some rest and do what you do best. Dr. McGee, we out.